Welcome back to the 24th floor. Getting into some college basketball now. The Memphis Tigers jump back into the swing of things. Memphis will take on FAU on Sunday. Tigers coming off a rough overtime loss to Wichita State. That was out in Kansas, adding what was initially a quad 3 loss to their resume. And in a bit of a stroke of luck, had their win over San Francisco in the non-conference part of the schedule turned into a quad 1. So my friend Greg Gaston, kind of some topsy-turvy stuff going on here with the Tigers resume here in recent weeks. In your mind, what did you think about the addition of a quad 1 win?
You know, the analytical world drives me crazy for an old schooler like me. All I know is I open up my eyes
Too many
and I
computer
watch
metrics.
the Tigers. I can look at the Tigers and I can tell you that they're a good basketball team. It was a disappointment losing that game at Wichita. I thought it was their poorest defense on the perimeter that I've seen this year. They allowed that dribble drive penetration, and they were getting alley-oop dunks. And Wichita State they deserved to win that game. But as far as your question about the quads, yes, Wichita State is going to bounce back and forth. That loss could be a 3, it could be a 2. It's going to bounce back because they're right there at the number. 135 is the number. I think they're right now inside it at 133. The San Francisco game becoming their 6th quadrant 1 win, that's very important. They only moved up today 1 spot in the net, which drives me crazy. But they're now 6-2 in quad 1. And it's important because that game was originally deemed a neutral court game, which makes no sense to me. It never made sense to me. And I give the university a lot of credit because they kept sending information and wheeling and dealing with the NCAA and trying to explain their point of view of why it wasn't a neutral court game and it should be a road win. And finally, here we are in February, mid-February for goodness sakes, and they finally changed it. So good on Memphis. I'm still concerned, Avery, with the selection committee and what emphasis they put where. It seems like they're too sold on the analytical part and not using the eyes and the resume. And when I look at Memphis sitting as of today at number 48 in the net, and I'm thinking to myself, you're telling me there's 47 teams, 47 that have a better resume than Memphis, a team that has a win over Missouri, who, by the way, just knocked off Alabama, who have a win over Michigan State, who have a win over Connecticut, who have a win over Clemson and Ole Miss. You know their resume. Tell me there's 47 teams better. I don't believe so. But Memphis also knows that they can't have games like they did against Wichita. They've had 2 of them now against Wichita and Temple in the conference. They have to win the rest of their games, 5 more regular season, and win the conference tournament title. They're going to the NCAA. But to avoid dropping all the way down to an 8-9, a 50-50 coin flip game in the NCAA tournament, they really need to put their foot down and make sure there's not another blemish.
Yeah, you're 100% right. It is unfair maybe to Memphis to have to be perfect, right, in your conference schedule. I mean, we know a lot of these teams are not great, but when you see any team twice a year, especially when you have to go on the road, be in their building, deal with their fans, it's always going to be tough to come out with a win in every instance. And it's just, to me, not realistic to expect that. But unfortunately, that is the reality for them. Yeah. What I think is great about this is, in going back and reading some of the reporting from some of the beat writers, Jason Munns of the Commercial Appeal had a write-up on what happened here and some of the criteria that they decide on when it comes to whether this is a neutral site game or a true road game. You talk about a third party coming in and organizing the game itself, ticketing arrangements, some of those other things. And what Munns has here as a quote from the NCAA says, of note, the men's and women's basketball doubleheader that San Francisco had in the Chase Center, which is in San Francisco, for those of you who don't know, actually had them in the season. It was included in their season ticket package. So, like, if it's included in your season ticket package, right, the game is in San Francisco. How is this ever not a true road game for the Tigers? I thought that was a really interesting piece. To your note, to your point about them and where they are right now, yes, Wichita State jumped from 137 to 133. I think they've won 5 in a row, which is great for them. But it's more likely than not, to me, they're probably going to be like at 135 if that right, game is going to hold as a quad two law or win. So for the Tigers, But what I think really has to happen here is they do have to win the rest of these games. They have to go undefeated here down the stretch. And you can't have a blemish here and stub your toe in the AAC tournament game. I think that's really where we're going to see what the Tigers are able to do, because what you don't want, to your point, is to land on that 8 and 9. As you're looking through some of these bracketologists now, a lot of them had them somewhere near a 4 or 5 seed about 2 weeks ago. Now Joe Lunardi has them as a 7 seed. Lunardi's for ESPN. Jerry Palm with CBS has them as a 7 seed. USA Today has them as a 6 seed. And there's some other bracketologists that have them hovering somewhere between 5 and 7. So you're going the wrong direction. If you're the Tigers, you have to continue to win. It's tough. It's always tough to win in conference either way, but
right.
you got to hold serve here and get through the rest of this conference schedule, conference tournament. Get yourself into March, and then we'll see what you can do when you go dancing.
Well, Avery, to your point, Jerry Palm comes on my radio show every week. He's done so for 12 years, whatever it is. He had him as a 4 as close by, or as recently, I should say, as Saturday morning. And then when the selection committee revealed their top 16 and Memphis wasn't a part of it, he obviously dropped them down, and he dropped them down to a 5 because you can't put him in the 4. It doesn't make sense. You just had the selection committee tell you who the top 16 teams were. So he had him at a 4 Saturday morning. Then he dropped them to a 5. And then they lose, and they drop 2 seed lines, as he's got him as a 7 now. Lunardi dropped him as a 7 to a 7. That tells you again how bad, how devastating each loss can be in this conference, especially this year, because the net of these teams, for the most part, are horrendous. And that's the one thing that drives me crazy, again, about the analytics. You're penalized a lot more for a loss than you are given credit for a big win over any of those non-conference studs that we just talked about. And that drives me crazy, because to ask for perfection, as you just mentioned, and I've talked about before as well, to ask for perfection in your conference, that's too much to ask for. It just doesn't happen in any conference. And even though these teams are inferior in talent to Memphis for the most part, how can you expect this team to get sky high for every single game? That game in Wichita, 11 a.m. game, they were in Orlando, enjoying the sun and fun. They blow out South Florida. They come home. They go back. They're dealing with 0-degree. Look, it's an indoor game, and everybody has to travel. I understand that. They lost. Fair and square, they lost the game. But it is hard to get motivated for some of these games like they are playing Connecticut out in Maui or playing Michigan State. And so when they trip and fall, it's a huge blemish. But when they get the big dub, it doesn't help them as much as the loss crushes them. That's what drives me crazy.
Yeah, certainly no big dubs left available coming up here for the Tigers. Their last several games, they got Florida Atlantic at home on Sunday. They'll get Rice at home next Wednesday, UAB on the road, UTSA on the road, and they'll finish at home March 7th against South Florida, right now ranked 22nd in the AP poll.